You know, some years ago, I was teaching a healing workshop, and part of the workshop, very central part, is to teach how Yogananda ji said we should pray for others. And it is like this. He said, you feel joy, serve as an joy has come to you. You see, you have not generated it, you have experienced it, you have uncovered it. Master said, when you put out your effort, God's grace also comes your way. So all that happens in meditation. And then what do you do to enhance its flow? He said, share it. If you share it, he said, God will give you more because he likes it when he shares. He said, it's a little bit like the cross. You're not just going vertical, but you're also growing and going sideways. And he said, God fills you more. So anyway, I was trying to share and teach this concept. And I said, okay, now we've had a wonderful workshop. Let's rub our hands and pray. And right there in the front row, there was a young boy. And I said, now raise your hands and chant Om and send these blessings out into the world. And this is how he did his blessing. Om. Like all 360-degree. Om. Now his eyes were closed, but I was watching him. And then he said, Om, Om, Om. And then I kind of said, well, Paramhansa Yogananda taught we should bless this way. And he said, but what about me? He said, if all these blessings that I have is like my income, I got it. And now you're asking me to share it. What about me? And here's the answer for that. Master said, the instrument is blessed by what flows through it. So you are not an end in yourself. You are also you might say just a station through which blessings are passing. And the more these blessings go. Master would say, I have not healed anybody. He said, God has done it through me. God is the doer. And that is the whole, you might say on one level, Shiva's job. In the beginning, we've been given this ego. In the beginning, it looks good. I remember when I was small, right here in Pune, somebody gifted me on my birthday 3 t-shirts. And they were this stretchable, they were imported, I was told at that time. So I thank my uncle for a wonderful gift. And it said happy in red, sky blue, and 2-3 colors were their combination. So it's a nice shirt, very nice. It had a sheen to it, and I would wear it, and everybody would say, wow, what a beautiful shirt, makes us feel happy when you're wearing this. Now it's the kind of shirt you can get attached to. And sure enough, I kept growing and I kept wearing that shirt. And my mom would say, this is too tight for you, you give it to somebody. And you don't always listen. You say, no, I like this shirt and let me wear it. Till one day when I came back from playing, I couldn't get out of this shirt. I'm trying. And my mom said, come here, put your hands like this. And she pulled it out. And that day we gave it. So on one level, you may say, it's very easy to welcome things, and I'll go a little bit in the detail of what Master said. Who is Shiva? What is Shiva on one level? It's a consciousness. He said Brahma is something that comes, that something new is happening in our life and we like it, especially if it's a positive change. You say, hey, this is wonderful. Like that t-shirt. Oh, thank you for this t-shirt. Now let me preserve it. That's Vishnu as much as I can. I'll keep wearing that shirt, keep wearing it. It's the Shiva. The end of wearing that t-shirt. Give it to somebody. No, it's my t-shirt, like Swami used to say. I am so happy I have this t-shirt. And Swami says, you see, your chitta and your ego has gotten involved. And to break that comes, you might say, in creation, anything that breaks that attachment is actually doing us a service. But we don't like it. And you say, no, can't I keep this body forever? Can't I keep my friends forever? Can't I keep my skills forever? I just want it to grow. And you can keep them, like Master said, but only in God. He said, this body is alone. Friends and family are alone. This world, Master said, there are so many planets you go to. Kriyanandaji used to have this recurring dream of being on another planet in another lifetime. And he said, over the years, slowly, that dream was inching forward. And he said he was on this in this island with, he had a romantic relationship and such. And he said it was moving forward. And so naturally people said, sir, how did the dream progress over the years? He said, well, it ended in disaster, as all things do. And he said, you see, you have to get out of it. He said, this has been going on for a very long time and it keeps us bound, like that t-shirt. I was enjoying it, but it was also tight. But you make a bargain, you say, no, it's tight, but it's nice. And you wear it. Like Swami used to say, if a mosquito bites you, he said there is a certain enjoyment in itching that little bleb that comes. Now, you're getting red and maybe you'll get a little infection if you itch too much. But you're like, oh, why did this mosquito bite me? And it's kind of sweet and nice pain. It's paining. Should I stop itching? No, just a little bit more. And Swami says you have to stop. At some point you have to stop. And it is that stopping phase, he said, bring some grace into it. So anyway, here we are going into Shivratri, and I welcome our online audience also. And once in a while, Tushar, let's see them on the gallery view. They are seeing me. I also want to see them. And they should see once in a while everybody over here, so you can turn your camera left and right. Now, there are certain things that go with Shivratri, and I'd like to touch upon them. And what did Yogananda ji say about it? Well, first of all, these are little mythological, but on the other hand, Swami says, because there's truth behind the myth, he said it is true even now. It's true, perhaps, it was perhaps true in the past, but he said those things are, today is you might say, celebration of some of these principles, but they hold true all the time. Well, they say Shiva and Parvati got wedded today. And what does that mean? Here is Shiva, he's the king of renunciates. You would think he should not get married, or certainly not have a consort. And what does this mean? And actually, for that matter, Brahma and Vishnu also have consorts. And you say, what's wrong? What's going on over here? And Kriyananda ji explained that, Yogananda explained that, you see, in each of us, now we live in a world where finally we are beginning to actually accept a third gender. But mostly it's like male, female. And so energies themselves are mostly divided into masculine primarily or feminine. And we define ourselves, we define certain cultures with that momentum. Whereas Kriyananda ji said, when you've come to the point where you start suspecting this game, this every morning I wake up and every night I go to bed. Like Swamiji said, one time he wanted to do and did outreach for Yogananda's teachings all his life, all over the world. And he said he used to have this thought, it'd be so nice if I had a motorhome. I could drive in it, sleep in it, travel, do more outreach. And he said, and the idea of having a mobile cave, you may say on one level, your personal home, interested him very much. And one time, I think it was somebody gifted him or he was able to finally buy one. And he sat in that and they started the outreach to a few places. And he sat and he said, oh, I'm so happy I have my motorhome. And a part of him inside said, just keep your emotions, like you should be able to control them. But Swami said that he let them out to himself. And just as he was rejoicing in that, now he was inside the car, he couldn't see what's happening outside. What he didn't know was the car was it was supposed to be parked, but actually the handbrake had not been applied. It was a new vehicle. The person who was driving was not totally familiar. And it started moving and suddenly hit a pillar outside. And the moment it hit that, Swamiji was perched up somewhere trying to get something out, and he fell down and he fractured his little finger. And he said, as he fell down and he was in pain, he said he started laughing and laughing and laughing, because he said, I knew this is the price I have had to pay for rejoicing in the car that he had. Now, for an advanced soul, like they say that term, instant karma, when you have very little karma left, things go back and forth very fast. And so Swamiji realized that even that rejoicing in having a vehicle for outreach for Master, it's not allowed to have that outwardly. And so he interiorized that. Now, when we reach a point, not maybe that much, or why not on one level, but you realize that, morning, evening, meetings, partings, understanding and misunderstanding, that what's really going on. And Master said, you see, you are finally realizing that the law of duality is at work. Everything is part of duality. And he said, when you realize that if everything is dual, then he said, this renunciation on one level that we practice outwardly, he says, Parvati, or the feminine side of it, is to interior. Like we enjoyed that chanting. It brings a focus to our mind. We've come here, online, offline. We say, okay, this is what I'm going to do outwardly in my diet, my meditation practice, my chanting, my reading, my service. But he says, then you have to interiorize, like Swami was given. You have to interiorize. And he said that that's why Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, and the folklore says many yogis had a consort. That this is the reminder. And actually you may say on one level, because our energies are a little bit like that, men generally have more masculine energy and women have feminine energy. And Swami says that is why you get married. Because you have to balance those two. You remind each other. Sometimes in Shiva-like ways, you remind each other, what is this all about? There's another beautiful thing they say happened tonight was Shiva's dance. And what is that about? You've seen that picture of Nataraj, that sculpture often. And Swami gave a very beautiful, the true explanation for that. He said, you see, people say, oh, when Shiva, don't disturb him, you don't want to poke him too much, because if he starts dancing, and he does that final dance, Pralay and finally Mahapralay, the ultimate dissolution will come. And when something happens catastrophic, you say, Pralay aa gaya, this is it. This is the end of it. Don't bring anger to this person. This is it. Once they start shouting, everybody will have to flee from here. But that's not what it means. Swami says, Master did confirm. He says there are these cycles of time, Kali Yuga, Dwapar, Treta and Satya Yuga. And he says they go 12,000 years up, all four of them, and 12,000 years down. So actually it does happen. Transitions do come. And they often bring about a certain, you might say, outward change, destruction in the way how we've been doing things. But he said, what does tonight, if we have to think about, if Shiva did dance, well, the more important question is he dancing in you and me? And if he's dancing, what is he dancing for? If Shiva is inside you and me, if that consciousness is inside of us, outward dissolutions will come. But he says more important is, are your delusions being broken tonight? And again, like I said, this is a daily practice. But if we can focus on that side, that no, today, enough of being tormented by these things, enough of being afraid of death, so many things, everything is part of duality, everything. Master said that one time Divine Mother realized that Master had just a little attachment. And he said she took away all his money. And 3 times she did that. Now it happened again to him so much because he was so deeply in love with God. And Master said, Divine Mother, when she sees you attached to anything or anyone or any place, if you really want her to act in your life, and Master had given her the free hand, he said, she will bring you down to nothing. To test if you are really okay without those things. Now it's easy to say, well, I don't depend on anybody. Well, let's see when you are alone by yourself. Now it seems, my goodness, that's a very unpleasant situation. But guess who will be on your side when you're alone? God. Don't we say, जिसका कोई नहीं होता है उसका भगवान होता है. But as long as we hold on to things and people, God says, well, Aditya, looks like you're quite happy with things around you. I'll observe. You're asking me to come, but you don't want me to test you. And Master said it doesn't work like that. At least inwardly, we want to give God the free hand. And then his dance begins. And then he starts destroying not outward relationships and jobs and salaries. Please try to understand. He will destroy our dependence and attachment. Because here's the thing. Aren't we tired on some level with this body? With this breath? You know, when Yogananda ji went to his guru, Sri Yukteswar, on one level, actually, we reach our Kriya classes. Otherwise, it would take... Master was trained for 10 years. Master was trained for 10 years. So if we subject ourselves, well, it could take slightly longer than that. But we have a certain course to cover, books to cover, and so we present the teachings as they do. But you know how long Sri Yukteswar ji took on the first verse of Patanjali's sutras? Master said they discussed the first sutra for 6 months. And the second sutra is Yogas Chitta Vritti Niro, that yoga calms the chitta. But before that, the first verse is, now we come to the study of yoga. So let's say this is, imagine a level 1 class or Kriya initiation, and we say, now I have come to the yoga class. Well, what was happening? Why do you say now? Master said, what was happening before that? That is what they discussed. And he says, you have to understand that before that, the discussion of Sankhya and Vedanta is happening. And Sankhya is all about this world is dual. So on one level, we are doing Kriya. We want to go beyond the breath. We want to go beyond karma. On the other hand, we don't want to accept that it is dual. What is the end result of duality? Suffering. What is the mathematical result of duality? Zero. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, the sum total of all our countless incarnations is one big zero. And you say, oh, I'm working for that. And that's why in Buddhism it's called Shunya. It's called that state of, where there's nothing. You have, Master told Swamiji, he told him, he said, I want you to be a minister and so on and so forth, and give him a lot of outward work. And at the same time, he would tell him that many of his ministers, the position went to their head. And Master says, that's exactly why I don't want to be a minister, sir. And Master said, don't worry, you will never fall because of ego. And then he said to him, everything has finally balanced out. You will have to give some sacrifices. He says, death itself will be the final sacrifice, but God will come to you at the end of your life. Think about the mathematical knowledge the Guru has, that you have been going on and on and on like Swami's dreams, on this planet, this place, that person, this desire, that job. And you reach the point where in this life, he said he had everything. He had skills, he was born in a family with good position, money, nice location, health. He said he was not happy. He instinctively knew nothing outside can bring me happiness. And that's when he met Master, and Master would say these things. Master saw in him, not his age, he saw finally everything has balanced out. Just a few little things are remaining, Master told him. He said, don't worry. I'm guiding you so that those also smooth out. Make a few sacrifices. Finally, everything has balanced out. Remember that balancing out means these scales go back and forth. And you and I have to put an end to it. It's like, who was that character? Bhishma. You don't give up in the beginning of the war. You fight. And he caused much destruction. But he gave up after 100 arrows had gone through him, and the battle was over. And Master said, you cannot be killed. And you might say, when I came, I saw a beautiful little Shiva over here. And I said, I'm so happy because somehow in the field of graphics, Shiva keeps getting bigger every year, more muscular. And I've been wondering what's happening, you know. And it's not so much about outward power and renunciation of that nature. Swami said it is such a deep trust in God and Guru. He called it ever deeper relaxation and a willful participation in the renunciation. Master once said to somebody, would you rather give your bread or have it snatched from your mouth? Painful statement, but he was reminding us. So often we hold on to things. We try to hold on to our breath. We try to hold on to life. Everybody, like Master said, likes Brahma and Vishnu. Nobody wants to invite Shiva to their house. But he said Shiva is finally coming. Like Master, one of his poems in Whispers from Eternity, he says, Divine Mother, thank you so much. Over countless incarnations, you mercilessly, unheeding to my cries to stop, you mercilessly broke my frame again and again and again. He said, I thank you for that, Mother. For now I see what you really broke was my false understanding and delusion that I am the body. What option do we leave God if we are holding on? So Divine Mother can be very loving, and if we can in that childlike love, like this little baby Shiva over here almost. I sometimes like to think of Shiva as a little, all these Hindu gods, when they are small, they are quite pudgy and healthy. I like that, it's like peaceful, happy, well-fed. That's the way to approach God, instead of Shiva holding a Trishul trident in front of you that, okay, Aditya, which form would you like to worship? Well, the baby form is better, sir. I'll make friends with you and I'd like to surrender. Yeah? There's that Trishul of him. Of course, I think we all know. What does the Trishul signify? Especially for us who are on this path of Kriya practice. Master said it's the spine, and the three wings, you may say, are the Ida, Pingala and Sushumna merging. They are joined at the base of the spine. And right there in that symbolism is the fact that Ida and Pingala keep you in duality. How nice to meet you. Oh, you didn't come on my birthday. That inhalation and exhalation. Master said, when you're tired of that, you think of the Sushumna and try to place your energy. And it's not like, okay, I want to enter the Sushumna. Well, let's see. How do you enter the Sushumna? Again, it's a deeper subject, but Master said by developing deep dispassion, Kunti, as it is symbolized in the Mahabharata. He said these are very, very intelligent things. You can't fool. You can knock somebody and say, hi, I'm Aditya, open the door. And maybe somebody will be fooled. You can't open the Kundalini and the chakras like that. It's intelligent, conscious energy. The moment the correct attitudes have been developed, no knocking is required. And of course, like I said, if we don't accept certain things, then we are knocking and we are getting nowhere sometimes. It's like Swami says, you're often pushing the car from both sides. How will it move? He said you have to get all your mental citizens on one side, get that understanding, which is why Sri Yukteswarji, a man of wisdom that he was, 6 months, he says, let's understand that everything is dual. Then we will come to other practices. I want to talk something which I realized in Banaras this time I was there, and it is confirmed in Swami and Master's teachings. Very beautiful thing. You see, in India, we go to these places where Shivalings are there, but Jyotirling is also there. And they are places of deep worship. Many saints and sages for a long time have worshipped there. And I was thinking about it. And actually, I was not thinking about it, but suddenly this thought came. What is a Jyotirling? If you separate those two words, it's made of two words. Jyoti is light and Linga is, it is thought of as the phallus. It's not the phallus, it is actually the spine. And now put these two things together. A spine filled with light, like Master's chant, who is in my temple? He said, all the doors, all the chakras have opened, all the lights have lit up, all the music is now flowing in the spine. That's a Jyotirling. And so you and I, yes, we should go out to places of pilgrimage where people have meditated. But suddenly I was so happy. I said, we all can be Jyotirlingas. Each one of us. Think of the light you can shine outwardly, like we prayed, that may I have that light inside. May I banish and destroy that darkness inside so I can become a light through my thoughts, through my actions, through my understanding. You see, your understanding has a great bearing. I remember I had a patient who I served for about, I think, 6.5 months, and then she finally passed away. And I won't go in the detail, but I have to say, I have a feeling her family was responsible in her premature passing, because you see, the company you keep has a very strong influence on your thoughts. And so she had met with an accident, and there were fractures, and there were abdominal injuries, and there were lung injuries, and she had medical history of diabetes. So too many things were happening, and different departments were involved, and she was finally recovering. Anyway, long story short, her family was complaining much more than the patient. But in these 6 months, I had become like family. So one day I came and her file was not there. So I said, where's her file? Where's her file? And this nurse looked at me and she said, oh, didn't you hear she passed away at 2 a.m.? I said, oh no, she should not have passed away. She was recovering. And they said, no, the last few days she deteriorated and passed away. But I didn't think of her as this person who was ill. I had not actually associated so much with that. I was only seeing that she's recovering, and I could actually see her recovered. And then anyway, she passed away, but I held on to her sweet eyes and smile in my mind. And now you see, when somebody's passed away, there are so many ways in which you can respond. But I was feeling her. So when I saw her family and they saw me, for a moment they didn't know what to do. But I didn't participate too much in the grief. I understood their grief, but I was more happy in her freedom from pain. Yes, there was a little sadness that this could have been a success story too, outwardly, but it is what it is. And I remember her husband came up to me, we just embraced. And somewhere there, her sons had come. Actually, one of her sons was from Pune. This was when I was serving in Delhi. And they said that you have become such a part of our family that we shouldn't grieve for her. And all happened in that moment, that we had known each other so much, we knew her so much. There was more of a recognition of who she is here with us. And that response is important. So how you feel in your heart, don't think, oh, I didn't have to verbalize it. I didn't have to participate in their grief. I just held on to what my experience of her was. And I feel I uplifted them all in that. And they all felt, well, let's see, let's move on and let's see what we can do now, pray for her and such. And remember that how you feel inside is a gift. There's another story that goes with Shiva, that when this churning of the oceans was happening, sorry, I'll go slightly longer. If somebody has to leave, please feel free to. That there's the story that this whole ocean was being churned, and guess what comes out first? Many things came out. Ultimately, a lot comes out in that churning, but the poison came out. And what did Shiva do in all his compassion? We all know he drank it and he held it. And that poison would have killed this, it destroyed perhaps the world, but he held it. And hence his neck became blue, and he's called the blue-throated one, Nilkant. And you know, there are many meanings to that perhaps. I haven't meditated too much, but Master used to say, he said, if you're in a bad mood, he said, stay home. He says, don't go out spraying it on other people. He said, work on it. Now, on one level, yes, you're not feeling good. You need to find positive company that can uplift you. But that poison, it's poison. It has come up in the ocean, in the churning. And that churning is the kriya that we do, is the pranayam that we do, is the Ida and Pingala. Things are coming up. Ultimately, nectar will also come. But he who practices that churning should also know how to handle and contain the poison that comes out first. And so he, the king of yogis, by the way, Mahavatar Babaji in the Himalayas is known as Shiv Baba, Trembak Baba. We don't know the deeper significance, but we are of a lineage where these teachings and practices are very integral. How we understand them, how do we apply them. But I thought that was beautiful. Hold it for others' sake, your sake and others' sake, and learn how to transcend. Also, you may say, hold it because we all will go through it, and that's called the dark night of the soul. And so if tonight is when Shiva bore that and held that poison till the nectar came out, well, let's also, in our personal struggles, in our challenges with other Guru Bhais, let's try to keep that compassionate side. That, okay, somebody's going through a struggle, and how can I help them? And that will be a very important thing. Anyway, let me see my notes if there was something. Like I said, this could go on and on. Okay. Yes. I'll close by sharing this side that somebody asked Swamiji, what did you like in Master? Of course, Master was completely likable. Swami said he was so likable, sometimes people wanted to just go and hug him. And Swami said he was actually always off Master. He said, I just simply couldn't be normal actually many times in his presence. But Swami said, he said, what I liked about him was that he was very appropriate in every situation of life. So you see, Swami and Master exemplified his divinity through his humanity. So many times we come on the spiritual path and you say, well, this world is a dream. How does it matter how I am behaving? How do I treat people? This is all a dream. Yes, when that dream turns to you in that way, you don't like it. But for others, it's very easy to say, oh, it's just a dream. But Master exemplified how to live and create a good dream. He said, why do you want to have a nightmare? He said, live a good dream and wake up. Yesterday night, actually, I dreamt that I was with Rahul Gandhi in the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Truly, it was so vivid, it was so real that I had this thought, because we were just discussing things really like best friends and brothers. And so he's saying this, and then I'm introducing him to devotees and our centers and all that. And then the thought came that, this is not normal. Should I take a selfie with him? But then this thought came, would you take a selfie with somebody who you know so well? And I said, no, I wouldn't take a selfie. So I didn't take a selfie. But dreams can be very, very vivid. And that is the whole power behind these things. So anyway, when Swami said that I like this thing about Master, that he was very appropriate, it's a little bit, and I encourage you all friends to read from this beautiful book, The Hindu Way of Awakening. Some of the points I'm sharing are from this beautiful book. Maybe Tushar, you can focus. And tonight we'll post a link to this book also. There are beautiful things over here. Swami writes that, you see, everything in creation is a vibration. It's duality. The moment anything, you see, it's more appropriate to say, Master said that God has become you and me and everything. He has not created, because in creation you feel, where is He? He is inside each person, in each atom, in everything, in every thought. He knows everything because He is everything. He is inside. And that is what we are trying to do. Why are we trying to go in? Why that suggestion of Parvati? Because if you go within, Swami says most people touch things from outside and they say, oh, this is nice, that's nice. He said a yogi touches all of creation from inside. And then you realize that outside is limited, inside I am not limited. And so over there, if everything is in creation, Swami said, you see, there are aspects to Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. What do they mean? They are aspects of Om, Master explained. He said Brahma is anything that creates. Vishnu is that which preserves. And of course, Shiva is something that brings things to a closure so that a fresh outlook can be brought to the situation. Master was very non-attached. He said, if Divine Mother calls me now, he said, I'll walk away from everything now. But that did not mean he didn't do his work well. He started good things. He did his best to keep up the principles. But then he was non-attached. So much so he told somebody, if I came back in 100 years, I don't know if I'll even recognize my own work. That is how much you will all change it. Think about that. That level of non-attachment. So in our lives, and frankly, I'll try to bring it down to a practical level, in our daily projects, do we have that level of enthusiasm? What does God want in this project? That's why we pray before every meeting. God, what do you want now? Swamiji many a times tested people. He would have them for months do something, something, something. At the last minute he says, I don't think Divine Mother wants it, because that's how he felt. And some people would get upset that, why were we doing all of this then for all this while? He says, because Divine Mother was saying do it. And why aren't we doing it now? Because she's telling us to stop it. And God tests us. That's why Master said, Divine Mother, I'll stop the moment you tell me to stop. And so Swami says, bring that consciousness. And then he goes in details. Many times we start things without the right energy. And he says that's a negative side of Brahma. Many times you end something when you shouldn't end that way. That's a wrong side of Shiva. Your endings should also be smooth, nice, graceful transitions. There's a joke many times when tests come, people say, here's my resignation. I quit. That's not a good Shiva consciousness. Would Shiva do that? Would Master do that? How do you start things? How do you preserve? What is it that you're preserving? Are you preserving the principle? Or are you preserving the dogma? So all these questions, there's so much beautiful. And now you may say, why do I have to think so much? Why do I have to apply these teachings in every detail of my life? To become free. All that karma, all those past actions where we did not think or feel that way, have now brought us to the point where we know what it was all for. And especially on nights like this, Shivaratri. And I urge you actually to practice Shivaratri for the next few nights. All your nights perhaps. That's why it comes every month also. And say, okay, time to stop. Take a stock of things, like every month we do the finance stocks and all that. Year-ending stock taking, inventory, whatnot. Well, this is spiritual inventory. What am I doing? How am I doing? And how can I finally be free from these things? That is what Shiva brings. Let's bear that in mind. Let's ask for him. And again, finally, as I started in the beginning, many times we can have a confusion. So in the end, tonight, am I praying to Shiva or Yogananda? Well, they are one and the same. Shiva is an aspect of consciousness in creation. And a guru, when God sends a guru is an embodiment. Actually, you might say on one level, Master is an embodiment of Brahma also, because he came to start something so beautiful. He came to show what he called a new expression. He led his life to show how to receive such inspiration and how to conduct your life. So he was Vishnu on one level. And then finally, how beautifully he passed. Look at that. Let's close with that thought. What an ending to a marvelous life. He predicted few months before. He said, and he would engage with disciples. He would say, should I die by cancer or heart attack? Now, who wants to reply, give a suggestion to your guru about such things? And people said, no, sir, don't say such things. And Master said, I think I'll choose heart attack. Then he said, I want to die with my boots on, which is to say, while I am serving actively. And he said, I want to die speaking about my America and my India. And so people said, okay. And so finally, after India's independence, the first ambassador of Free India to America was coming to California, and Master said, I'll host him. And he hosted them at the Biltmore Hotel. And one night before the event, Master started telling devotees, he said, tomorrow is a very big day for me. Wish me luck. And people said, yeah, it's a big public event. Master has hosted it. And that evening, when the time came to go down, he was staying in a room over there. He said, I don't want to go down. But he said, I must go down. And you see, just such so beautifully. And finally, of course, Swami says he went. And Swami could not see things at a distance at that time. His eyesight was giving him trouble. And so he was taking notes. And he said, Master said in the end, he gave his talk, felicitated everybody, and food and everything was happening. And Master said, I want to read a poem for you all. It's called My India. And he read this rather long poem. And in the last part, he says, where hills and mountains or Himalayan caves and men dream God, I am hallowed, I am blessed. My body touched that sword. And Swami said, sword means soil. It was drawn out, sword. And Swami was noting all these things. And the moment Master said, sword, everybody in the audience said, and Swami said, what happened? He looked up and a fellow monk said, Master fainted. And Swami said, Master wouldn't faint. He has left us. But look at the precision, mathematical, divine, just the way every breath is counted when somebody is in tune. And Master would say, I never do anything which Divine Mother doesn't ask me to do. Om is another name for Divine Mother. Shiva is that aspect of Om. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, which ends a cycle. And if Master lived that way, he was not showing off. He wanted to teach us all we can live that way. We can also ask God, I am your child. Like my mom was telling me, give up this shirt, give up this shirt. And I'm like, no. And she's like, okay, you'll get stuck in it one day. And that's what happened. Instead, if we ask God, what is your plan for me? Then it comes to a beautiful closure. And that is why we are given a guru in our life. So let's take a moment of silence to inwardly invite the blessings of the masters, their teachings, these deep truths about creation, about you and me. And let's ask especially for the blessings of the gurus on this day of Mahashivratri, that through the meditation techniques, through the teachings, through our thoughts and attitudes, may we perfect their divine plan for each one of us. May we find deep freedom from our delusions, from all false understanding, and wake up to the true reality that awaits us, each one of us, in our life and beyond this earthly life. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.